Alright, y'all. Let's get this video recorded. That's funny. Alright. Hey everybody, it's just me here, coming at you with another Wonderlands build video. That doesn't sound right. Does it? That sounds terrible. Hey everybody, it's just me here coming at you with another Wonderlands build video. This is another melee ability build video. It is a Brrzerker Blightcaller. And I just kind of wanted to break down and go a little bit more in detail on this one because there's two types of playstyles when it comes to this build that I've noticed. One of them is running the Cryo Buffmaster with Kachow Bonk. That was pretty bad. Whoever's watching, that was pretty bad. I'm trying to get it set up. I don't want to say too much, but I need to explain more on this video because there's two ways you can build this video. How do I need to do it? Let me think. Yeah, I got it. Hey everybody, it's just me here coming at you with another Wonderlands build video. This is another melee ability damage build video. This is a Brrzerker Blightcaller build. I've currently hit 337 million with it, is the most I've hit. But there is two different playstyles to this build, so I would like to show off both playstyles just to show the damage difference. The first playstyle is what I'm running here. It's a Cryo Buffmaster, and it's Kachow and Bonk. We start off, we soak, we break our shield, we apply, we hit. They die. We look at damage numbers. Quick explanation. My melee swing off of my Banshee, it's a Cryo Banshee that I'm using, hit for 1 million, okay? The cryo Banshee swing hit for 1 million. The live wire chain, that's a melee damage buff. That's why we hold the live wire, was 5 million. It's right there somewhere, but it was 5 million. Then the lightning from the plague storm struck them for 33 million. And that was fire. I would just like to point out this enemy was soaked, so it took half damage because it was fire and not cryo. So that's just a quick damage test of the Buffmaster. Now, the other way that you can play this build is you put on a... What in the world? Let me do that again. That was funny. I got lost because that thing confused me. I was like, what is that? Why do I have a green in my inventory and it won't let me throw it out? That's so crazy. Why will it not let me drop that? Okay, there's something going on there. Let's just quit out of that, make sure everything's working good. That was scary. I don't know what happened there. Wouldn't let me throw an item down for some reason. That was weird. And the second way you can play this build is you change your Buffmaster to an empowering sigil. I use the empowering sigil because it attaches to you and it moves with you. It is a smaller sigil, but it also seems to apply frost better. All we're going for is to apply frost. With the sigil, you'll do the same thing. Shoot him with the delusion, break the shield, cast the spell, walk up to him. I was thinking of a Buffmaster. I messed that up pretty good. I didn't even apply frost. That was base melee damage right there. That was no buffs to the icebreaker. That was crazy. That probably would have destroyed them. It probably crits what happened. I am bad at this. I've never messed up this many times. And the other way you can play this build is swap the Buffmaster to the Empowering Sigil. All we have to do is apply Frost. When we apply Frost, we get our major damage buff. But it's the same thing. Shoot him with the Delusion, break your shield, cast your ability, cast the spell, apply Frost, hit him. Now the 35 million here was the lightning strike. This was the lightning strike from Plague Storm. I don't even know where my damage is. That's crazy. I gotta do that again. That was terrible. And the other way you can play this build is swap your Buffmaster for a Empowering Sigil. All we need to do is apply Frost, and the Empowering Sigil is the best spell for that. Break your shield, cast the ability, cast the spell, Frost, hit. It didn't kill him, but that was because I got downed. But as you see, it was the same thing. That was a bad one. I don't need to get downed in it. And the other way you can play this build is swap your Buffmaster for an Empowering Sigil. All we have to do is have a way to apply Frost. So that's why the Buffmaster's Cryo, and that's why we use the Empowering. Oh my goodness. My goodness. I'm out of ammo. I'm having a hard time with this build video. And the other way that you can do this build, and the other way you can play this build is you change your Buffmaster to an Empowering Sigil. We just have to be able to apply Frost to the enemy before we melee them. So that's why that's why the Buffmaster was Cryo, and that's why we're running an Empowering Sigil. So it's the same thing. We Delusion, we break our shield, we cast our ability, cast our spell, apply Frost, hit. Same thing here. I hit him for close to 1 million or so. That's probably all my damage right there off the swing. It then did a live wire chain of 8 million. Hit him again for 1 million. And then it looks like the live wire chain actually even killed him. It didn't even strike him with lightning that time. That was just a legitimate one shot. Let me just do that one more time. I don't think I'll need to explain that a second time. I done explained it once with the Buffmaster. And the other way you can play this build is you change your Buffmaster to an Empowering Sigil. All we have to do is be able to apply Frost to the enemy before we melee them. And so that's why with the Buffmaster it's Cryo, and that's why we use an Empowering Sigil. So it's the same thing, cast your ability, break your shield, cast your spell, apply Frost, melee. They die. Alright. Perfect. So now we can go to, now I can go to a better setting. We'll go to the Chaos Chamber. It's a good background. Hey everybody, it's just me here coming at you with another Wonderlands build video. This is an ability melee damage build. It can one-shot melee, just one-shot hit and kill most bosses, but if you really want to get the crazy damage numbers like the 337 million I hit, you're looking for the Plague Storm ability to be striking with lightning. Hey everybody, it's just me here coming at you with another Wonderlands build video. This is another melee build. We're getting a lot of melee damage and ability damage, mainly through the paradigm. This is Brrzerker and Blightcaller, so we are using Icebreaker. Dang, I need to quit just rambling on. I'm rambling on. I'm trying to record this and I just want to say details and I just don't need to. It makes the videos too long. Nobody will watch a video past 14 minutes. Hey everybody, it's just me here coming at you with another Wonderlands melee build. It's a melee ability damage build. It's a Brrzerker Blightcaller. And I just want to say that my last two builds, I released my Clawbringer Blightcaller and my Stabbo Blightcaller, y'all. It's gotten a pretty good amount of views, and if I'd appreciate it if y'all would subscribe to me if you haven't already, and if you have, thank you so much. But I'm on. I don't want to say too much. Let me restart that. That was bad again. I keep messing that up, don't I? It's terrible. Hey everybody, it's just me here coming at you with another Wonderlands melee build. This is a Brrzerker Blightcaller melee ability damage build. We are using Plague Storm like my last two builds were. And I just want to say I appreciate all the views and all the subscriptions that y'all have been giving me. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to me. I'm trying to become a YouTube content creator. No, I don't need to say that. I just need to say please subscribe. Please like, follow, and subscribe my Twitch. Please follow my Twitch. Hey everybody, it's just me coming at you with another Wonderlands build video today. This is another melee build. It's a Brrzerker Blightcaller melee ability damage build. We are using Plague Storm just like the last two melee builds I released. And I do appreciate all the views on those. If you haven't, please like and follow me on Twitch and subscribe on YouTube if you can. I'd really appreciate it. Thank y'all so much. And now let's go ahead and get into the build. Starting off in the gear, we're running the Delusion. I use this to soak the bosses. I use this so that way I can apply soak to bosses at the beginning. That's too much. So starting with the weapons and gear here, we have the Delusion, like always. We always want the Delusion to be able to apply the soaked effect to bosses. We are also running a live wire. We want the damage buff, the melee buff of the live wire. We hold it while we melee. That's so stupid. And starting with the weapons and gear here, we're running the Delusion. I use the Delusion to apply soak to the bosses myself. That's so dumb. Of course they know that. And starting off with the gear and weapons here, I have the Delusion. I use this to soak the bosses beforehand, so that way I can apply it myself. That sounds so stupid. And starting off in the gear here and weapons, we have the Delusion. The Delusion is what I use to soak the bosses before I melee them. Then I swap to the live wire to make sure I'm holding it while I melee them for the increase in damage. The weapon I was using for all of these kills was the Banshee, but I can say that the Spellblade is a very, very good weapon to use with this build also, because we are using a paradigm, so we're buffing spell damage through melee damage, which is really good. And so you would want a Cryo Spellblade. That would also be a very good melee weapon to use. But I used the Wailing Banshee for all of the kills in the beginning, so even the 337 million was with the Wailing Banshee. So next we have the rings here. It's just 2 melee damage rings. I really don't even care about the effects, but this one does kind of help. While ward is not full, effects are increased 33%. It really is nice to get that melee crit hit, and that's a pretty big increase, 49.4%. I don't need to explain the rings. And starting with the weapons here, we've got the Delusion to apply the soaked effect to the bosses before I melee them. We've got the live wire. We want to hold the live wire when we melee for the increased melee damage. I'm using a Cryo Wailing Banshee. This is the best weapon you can use in slot for this build. You can also use the Spellblade. You just need to make sure it's Cryo, preferably with Echo. And then we have our melee damage rings. This is just melee damage increases. Cursed Wit. I use the Cursed Wit to get that 100% increased damage dealt, and it has a passive roll of plus 20% melee damage while water's depleted. This is real nice because it's a melee build and we break our shield before we melee the boss. And then we're running a paradigm. This is really where the damage comes from. So the skill Icebreaker in the Brrzerker tree is a very, very, very strong damage buff. And so I have a paradigm here with 3 out of 3 into Icebreaker. That makes me be able to have 6 out of 3 into Icebreaker, which is what we're going for, because that is where the real damage comes from off the melee. This is a Brrzerker Spore Warden. I'm only getting the Brrzerker increase, but it does have melee and all damage dealt roll. Those are really good rolls on it, obviously. But all you have to make sure it has is it needs to be ability damage and spell damage are increased by your melee damage, and it needs to have 3 out of 3 into Icebreaker. That's what you're looking for. Like I had stated earlier, there's 2 different ways you can run this build. For mobbing, I prefer the Sigil. The Sigil is awesome because it has about a 4-second cooldown. So when you're mobbing, you can activate the Sigil, hit someone, you'll one-shot everybody because you'll be freezing the mobs. And then when you get to bossing, I prefer to swap to Kachow Bonk for the bossing. I was using the Kachow Bonk Buffmaster whenever I hit for 337 million. It has to be Cryo because we have to apply the Cryo status effect. So just moving on over to the skill tree, I only had one other thing. It was a necklace, and it's the Urge, frost damage Brrzerker, all damage dealt. The Urge is really good because the Plague Storm takes a really long time to cool down, and so this helps out right here, being able to cast a spell, especially when we're running the Sigil, because you can cast it every 5 seconds or so. But like I said, we're trying to apply frost status effects. So over in the skills, we are running Brrzerker Blightcaller. We have 5 out of 5 into frost damage increase. We are applying frost to everything. The sigil literally freezes things solid, so, you know. And now over here in the gear and weapons, we have the delusion to apply soak to the bosses before we melee them. I have a live wire so I can be holding it while I melee them for increased melee damage. I'm also running the Wailing Banshee. A Cryo Wailing Banshee with Echo is the best in slot melee weapon for this build. You can also run a Cryo Spellblade. The Cryo Spellblade also hits very, very hard. I was using the Wailing Banshee for all of the kills though in the beginning. And then our rings are just melee damage rings. That's just like my other builds. The Cursed Wit, we're running a Cursed Wit here. We want the 100% damage increase. And also the plus 20% melee damage while water's depleted is a very good passive that it has on it. And then here is what's really making this build hit so hard. So we're running a paradigm. The last two builds I made both ran a paradigm. One of them even ran this specific paradigm. It just wasn't getting any buffs because it wasn't Brrzerker. So now we're actually utilizing this paradigm to its fullest extent. That's why this build hit harder than the Stabo build. What you have to have on the paradigm to do as much damage as I did is it needs to have 3 out of 3 into Icebreaker, the skill on the left right there. It also has to say ability damage and spell damage are increased by your melee. The other passives on mine are just helping me out. So the melee damage increase and the all damage dealt, it's just a increase to my damage is all that is. But to really get the big damage, you have to have 3 out of 3 into Icebreaker, and it has to be a paradigm with ability and spell or increased by melee. And then, like I had stated earlier, we can use 2 different spells here, either the Sigil or the Ka-Chow Bonk Buffmaster. The 337 million I hit was with the Ka-Chow Bonk Buffmaster, so it does work better for bossing, I would say. But when it comes to mobbing, I would prefer to use the Sigil. The Sigil has an uptime, it has a crazy uptime. You can activate it just about every 5 seconds, so that's really good for mobbing. And then the last thing is our necklace. I always run the Urge because Plague Storm takes a really, really long time to cool down. And if we're running a Sigil, activating our spell reduces the remaining extra skill cooldown by 20%, which is just amazing because you can almost activate the Sigil, like I said, every 5 seconds. This is kind of a god roll for my build. This is a frost damage Brrzerker, which is exactly what we're doing. But other than that, you can really run whatever you want here. All damage dealt's really what you're looking for on it. And then over here in the skill tree, we've got the first tree is the Brrzerker tree. I'm running 5 out of 5 into Ancestral Frost. We're doing lots of frost damage, so might as well increase it. I put 5 out of 5 into Savagery because we're running a paradigm that any increases to melee damage go straight into my ability damage, which is what the Plague Storm is hitting so hard for. So that's why I was running 5 out of 5 for that 30% melee damage increase. I also ran 5 out of 5 in the Old Ways. The Fate Maker deals bonus damage and gains increased damage reduction. The damage reduction is not important, but the damage increase is 30%. We're always going to be very close because we are meleeing. And then we have to run 3 out of 3 into Icebreaker. I have 6 out of 3 because of the body armor. That's why I said you have to have one with 3 out of 3. This is a 60% damage increase against frozen enemies. That is when they're frozen solid. So against bosses, you're not getting that whole percent, but it's still a massive increase. My body armor gave me 2 out of 3 into this, so when I put 3 out of 3 into it, it gives it 5 out of 3, but really I just do that because it's frost defense efficiency. That's all I'm trying to get there. And then we have 1 out of 1 into unarmored defense. This is something I recently spec'd into on the build because it was having a really hard time on survivability. And then we're running 1 out of 3 into Blood Frenzy. It's a kill skill, a portion of the Fate Makers. What is going on? And then over here in the Berserker skill tree, we're running 5 out of 5 in Ancestral Frost. We just want frost damage increase. We're doing lots of frost damage, so. Then over here in the Berserker skill tree, we have 5 out of 5 for frost damage increase. We got 5 out of 5 here for melee damage increase. Since we're using a paradigm, any buff to melee is a buff to ability, which is really good for the Plague Storm. We're running 5 out of 5 into the old ways. We want the 30% damage increase when we're close to an enemy because we're a melee build, so we will be as close as we can get. This is really where the build shines. I've got 6 out of 3 into this. I put 3 through my skills and 3 through the body armor. That's why I said you have to have 3 out of 3 on Icebreaker on your body armor. My body armor has 2 out of 3 into Cold Snap. I just went ahead and put 3 out of 3 into it, mainly for the frost efficiency is what I'm looking for there. We have 1 out of 1 into Unarmored Defense. This is mainly for my ring. This is to have that 33% increase on the ring. It also kind of helps with health because it gives you more maximum health. And then right here is a kill skill that restores a percentage of my maximum health. So I went ahead and put 1 into that because the build was having a hard time at survivability, and so I went ahead and went 1 out of 3, and that seemed to help a lot. I've got 1 out of 1 into Relentless Rage. This pretty much makes it where you don't ever die, because whenever you're downed and you shoot an enemy or get close to them and melee them, then your save your soul meter just pretty much stays full until you kill somebody. And then we have 1 out of 1 into Blast Chill. We always want Blast Chill. Having that just Frost Nova is amazing. It is only a 20% chance, but it's still really awesome. It's also ability damage. Since we're buffing ability damage through the paradigm, this is another really good skill that sometimes activates even during mobbing or bossing. That just really knocks out a chunk of health. I went ahead and went tree cap on Brrzerker mainly because I was just trying to make the action skill cooldown. I was trying to have Plague Storm up as much as possible. It seems to kind of help out, but really, And then over here in the Blightcaller tree, we have 5 out of 5 into status effect chance and duration. This is mainly just so we can apply that frost status effect. That's what we're going for. We've got 4 out of 4 into Geist in the Shell, 5 out of 5 into poison damage. This is just ability damage increase. I'm using it to apply soaked to mobbing enemies. This just is sometimes during mobbing you get soaked. Really, all I'm trying to do is get down the tree to frostbite. Now this is what really made this build shine. So 6 out of 3 into Icebreaker has always been a very, very good melee build. But with Frostbite included now through the Blightcaller tree, it is a straight increase to melee damage that then went through my paradigm to give me even more ability damage. So that's why this build was able to hit harder than the Stabomancer. And then over here in the Blightcaller tree, we have 5 out of 5 in a status effect chance, 4 out of 5 in the Geist in the Shell, 5 out of 5 in a poison damage. This is just to buff Geist in the Shell. Geist in the Shell is just for ability damage. It also applies the soaked through bogged down on mobbing. So we pretty much just went into all these mainly to get down to the tree, get down the tree to Frostbite. And then we went 3 out of 3 into Frostbite. And that was all the points I had. So and then over here in the Blightcaller tree, we have 5 out of 5 in a status effect chance and duration, 4 out of 5 into Geist in the Shell, 5 out of 5 into poison damage. This poison damage is only to increase Geist in the Shell. Geist in the Shell is to activate Bogged Down. It's also ability damage, which we're buffing through the paradigm. But mainly it was just to get down the tree to Frostbite. And then we go 3 out of 3 into Frostbite. And over here, I'll go ahead and show my myth rank. I have 20 out of 20 into melee crit chance. I have 20 out of 20 into melee swing speed. I also have 11 out of 20 into melee critical damage. This is only if I crit with the melee hit that I get the increase in damage. My actual melee damage has 0 points into it, so I have no melee damage increases through my myth rank other than crit damage increases. But yeah, guys, that's the video. Thank you so much for watching my videos. If you haven't, please subscribe and follow me over on Twitch. Thank you so much. I have 25 available points. What am I even doing there? Alright, y'all. I think that's it.